very much, and probably you can give me the co-host, please, or even the host, Sister Habiba, if you can make me a co-host, please. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
In a minute, sir.
barakatuh. Naam. Yeah, I need to get the co-host, please, or host even. Sister
You
Habiba, if
have
you
it
can,
sharing.
it has now. No, it's not yet come through. I can't see it. Now what the murara? Sister Habiba, umpulira? Ndaba umute, so why is it haspa? Yes, I need to get the co-host rights, please. Otherwise, I can't. Right. Okay, brilliant.
You are now.
I am. I can confirm that I am now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 16 minutes past 8 o'clock. Welcome to Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. And tonight we are discussing a lot of times. Everyone, as you're getting married, tells you how to be married, how to get married, but nobody tells you how to get separated. It's a kind of a controversial sort of conversation, and I would love the controversy. Just to say that we are live on 75 W Radio. We are live on Ummah Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. And as usual, this no languages barriers tonight. On such a topic, sometimes people just want to sort of let off the steam off their chests, and you don't want language to get in the way of that. Well, tonight, inshallah, we shall be discussing this in particular, looking at the sort of things would you, that if, for example, you knew what you know now, you would have probably dealt with this situation differently. I'd like to hear your experiences. This program builds on your experiences because they make the worthy, they make the listening worthy, the watching worthy, because it is your experiences that make the program what it is, a global community conversation. So tonight, and if you've just joined us, I was just trying to say that tonight's conversation has been informed and without in any way undermining two other big stories that were happening tonight. In the last few minutes, the Israeli war government, the Zionist war government, has just approved a plan that would allow, one, a ceasefire, but also allow the exchange of prisoners the hostages who are Israeli hostages in Gaza to be let out in return for the release of several, well, hundreds probably, of Palestinian women and children who are in Israeli jails where they have been. So that's a big, big developing story. Hopefully it should bring a little bit of a let up in the suffering for the millions of people in Gaza who have had a steady bombardment for more than 40 days. So that's a very, very big story, but one that was developing, in which we needed to be able to catch up as well, to first of all let it sink, but without missing the details of that. The second big story is the possibility of attachment of Uganda Muslim Supreme Council properties, including the UMC headquarters at Old Kampala, for failure, or in the event that we fail to pay 19 billion Uganda shillings, which is owed to one person who claims to have bought the Zimbabwe land. It's another very heated conversation on many forums, including the UMC UK forum. And I thought this is a story that required to have, well, both sides of the story to be able to tell it. And we are not very political on Come Let's Talk. We would dig deep, but it's not that we would be ignoring what is happening within the community, which is a big deal in case we lost these properties. So these two big stories. And then the third story, of course, is the basis of tonight's conversation. And it is coming off the back of Embaga Mauno Eyabadeo Eya Chavazinga Wabusoga, when he finally got to marry the love of his life, Jovia Mutesi. And the build up to that was very tense, with several spouses claiming to be the rightful loves of His Majesty. Of course, as king, I would imagine they would almost have the right to marry more than one. Kings almost always have that. In Buganda, for instance, I know that all women belong to the Kabaka. How far any man would accept their wives to be party to that, that is subject for interpretation. But within Busoga, the build-up was very tense, especially with one of the ladies, Alison, who went as far as the courts, who went into the newspapers and the media. Social media was all awash with big stories relating to this. And for a moment, you would almost have thought that the wedding was not going to take place because of the tension. Tension yaliwo nga mpitirivu nga balaba ssaawa yonna Alison agguka ku mukolo. And you could almost see a little bit of the discomfort in some instances, with a bit of eyes looking here and there, but security was guru guru, and whatever transpired, we wish the king, His Majesty, the best in his new life now as a married man, married to Joan Mutesi, Jovia Mutesi rather, sorry, who now becomes, well, the queen in the Busoga over Inyevantu, Inyevantu from the Busoga pronunciation. So tonight we are asking the bigger question. A lot of times as you're getting married, you're sat down, the people that come to talk to you, the whole build-up, finding weddings have actually become very expensive, that even the thought of getting married now actually traumatizes one, especially if you were married before and you're sort of going back into the market. It is not an easy one for the younglings, for the youngsters, people who are getting married for the first time. Probably they can afford to spoil their spouses, but the marriages are not lasting these days. Something is definitely not right. So if you knew what you know now going into your marriage, would it have been any different? You can either, well, go into the chat room and get us talking, or you could as well just raise your hand up and we get talking. These are some of the topics that when they come, the first person that really comes to my mind is Hajat Sarah Semakura. And Hajat Sarah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How have you been? It's been a long, long time. I've been seeing you in the programs, but then we get carried away and we've not heard from you in a long time. How have you been keeping?
Alhamdulillah, I'm okay.
To have you back.
I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Allahumma. Well, topic yare bojirabye, what did it read to you in your mind? People, well, first of all, would it be taboo to discuss, to talk about how to separate when someone is getting married?
I think I wouldn't say it is a taboo, but I wouldn't see the significance of doing that. Because we are addressing marriage because it's happening, and we would address separation when it's happening. Because I don't know what you have in mind when you say that, but for me, I think all this is like if you have a baby and you know maybe they will grow at some point. You don't put emphasis on that because you know it's stages. Things have to happen in stages, and if there is cause for separation, then one should address it.
Is that not too late? Is that not too late when it happens? Because, and I'll give you an example. In the Quran, which, well, is sort of a complete Islam itself is a complete way of life. Allah brought us and told us about marriage. You look at the verses that relate to marriage, but then you go to the verses that relate to divorce. Actually, the verses that relate to divorce actually seem to be more than the verses that relate to marriage, which means that there is a lesson. And actually, I'd never thought about it. It's only now that speaking to you, it's come to mind. You look into the Quran and you see the verses that relate to divorce are more in terms of number in comparison to the verses that relate to marriage. Because there is an excitement that comes with marriage, we can say all the good things that happen, but quite often what happens is once we get to the process of, say, having to separate, which in effect could be divorce, it might not actually necessarily necessitate divorce, but it might be a misunderstanding of sorts that might be big, that for a little time, someone needs to sort of just go on the side and allow the waters to cool. But you see that the Quran put a lot of emphasis and on all verses that relate to marriage, to divorce. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about taqwa, the fear of Allah, that whatever you're doing, having that in mind. Okubanga buli kyokora tomufulumya mu nyumba watu mukasuka tomujjaako obulabo bw'omuwa n'akkaatiriza. Can you even take away the gift that you gave to this person after what you had that was so good when it was there? There is that, and in essence, you find that actually the emphasis is there because there is anger, there is frustration, there is disbelief sometimes. You just get to a point and you're thinking, ono ye muntu gwe neefunira ng'ali gaafuse shaitani.
Sheikh Eke, with the Quran, putting everything down, it's because it's our way of life. It had to. God had to make a plan for us and tell us how things have to be because He knows best and He knows that all these things are part of our lives. Naye if I could even maybe kudda mu Luganda, nze kati nga nze bwe nali nafumbirwa oba okusinziira ku myaka egyaffe gye twafumbirwako oba mu biseera byaffe bye twafumbirwako. There was no need for that. Omuntu yenna bw'abeeramu toyinza kugaba mwana nti kati kaaba. Bw'aba anaakaaba ng'afunye ekimunyiizizza ajja kkaaba. Era ojja mugamba nti seka simanyi oba nkireeta mu ngeri nkyamu naye kyengezaako okugamba nti buli kintu kirina ekiseera kyakyo. Everything has its own time. Even in marriage, we are not expecting everything to be sanyuli. Yeah, there will be some times when we might have a few upsets or but one thing we try to do is be tolerant. The only thing one wouldn't tolerate is abuse. If there is abuse in a relationship, totally that will really call for separation or even divorce. But there are times when, yes, separation can happen, whereby you take a break and then come back. Because if it's not, you're not talking about real divorce, but then during our times, we had people who would come in and try to counsel both parties because we do take marriage as a very, very special, spiritual,
It's where we. Looks like Rashida maybe wants to disagree. Rashida, please go ahead. Ajat Sarah is listening.
Old school.
Rashida,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Blessed to be a part of this meeting. May Allah grant us the best out of it. Mama sikayana. Otherwise, I just wanted to contribute a few points about the Mulamwa. You know, wherever you're too close to someone, they'll never value you that much. So I think this separation is really needed for some time, not a divorce as such. But even Islam talked about it. If it means being apart for some time, see how much you love each other, still sleep on the same bed. Is this what we call Ida? You have to sleep around and see if you really miss this person this much. So if you still go intimate, then this means you still have the love, but it was just a misunderstanding. This happens.
Rashida, Ida would only come in the sense of divorce.
No, before divorce, yeah, we have separation. Before divorce, we have these Idas. Then divorce is the last resort.
The Idda only comes in. The Idda only comes in once divorce has been declared. So you have that period. The Idda is once divorce has been declared. That is from a Sharia point of view. When you tell someone you have that period of 3 months. If within those 3 months you continue to live in the same house, of course, in the case unless there has been issues like to do with domestic violence, but if it's misunderstandings like people do, you are allowed. musobola okwawula obuliri obwo bw'oyawuddemu naye muli mu nnyumba y'emu, omuwabyo obadde omuwa byonna asiba ettawulo n'akuyitako n'agenda mu kinaabiro. If your feelings don't change over those 3 months, then the divorce becomes effective. Onaaba akutalase wano naye tosobola kufumbirwa mu eyo talaka. It comes in once a declaration has been made or a statement has been made that I've divorced you. So I just wanted to correct that, but go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Maybe it was the terminology I was confusing with the other. So this is taraka. Taraka is where you have to sit back for these 3 months. And I think in English, it is the
Yes.
separation we're talking about. Until, I think it is also a way of separating these 3 times. And for the 4th time, then it is completely down. You can't pull back.
It's only 3 times. Once the 3 times have run out, then you've run out. You automatically have to get married elsewhere before they can marry you again, if they love you so much. Rashid, are you there?
I think he's trying to come to think about what you just said. Yeah.
Yes. Is Rashida there? Alinga drop-ins. The line is still active, but she's gone quiet. Okay. While we wait for Rashida to come back, Rashida, as you come back, just go ahead. We just seem to have lost you suddenly, but your mic is on. You're still actively on. Hajat Sarah, so my point, I don't know whether my point changes anything. Obado insisting until you feel it would be almost inappropriate to discuss issue ya separation ngate omuntu agenda kufumbirwa. But is there no room to us to, so for example, say, mwana wange ndi mukutegeka, but in case, you get to a point where you feel things are not happening, come to us. Let's try, first talk to your husband, see if you can sort out. If not, then come to us.
Actually, that is always said among us, our parents. And even on my wedding day, I remember my dad standing up and saying that if you ever think about leaving your husband, you have to make sure you call us all in the same ceremony so that we all are present and we listen to why you want to leave your husband. In a way, they're even trying to make it very difficult for you, but they are like, we can always listen if there is an issue. So we know that if we have difficulties in marriage, we have our parents, we have our elders who can intervene and try and talk to us and to probably solve a problem. But
is that something that you are told when you get married?
Yeah. Yes,
I believe the situation.
And Rashida is back. Oh, Rashida, go ahead. Speak to Hajat Sarah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
I've just found a topic on the table. Do you believe we have situations that are already out of hand? You step back and have this swabber until it is too late.
Yeah, of course they are toxic, not just out of hands, but they can be really toxic situations.
Exactly.
I do believe that, yeah, whereby there is abuse in the family and it can even cause trouble for the children. They are there.
And what does it call for?
It can call for divorce, not just separation. It can call for divorce, depending on what is happening, really. It could be immediate divorce. You have to call in whoever you need to call in and tell them that, no, I can't stay in this home anymore, because some relations are just beyond repair.
Exactly. And
yeah,
again,
I believe that.
There are also situations that you can't speak about, not with anyone. Yani, if I move into a house, I'm married, and only to find out that my man is completely down. I can't even sit for a minute.
You can't.
The situations you can't explain out, the situations you would love to talk to with someone, maybe sit you together and talk to you two as a couple. This is something. But again, in due course, before you call in for someone, then you have waited and patiently maybe prayed about it. And the moment the separation comes, it is just a burning flame. And
So,
what is it
Rashida,
for?
when you say situations that you can't discuss, like your man being down,
Being impotent, I think.
that in the
I think
physical,
that's
is
what.
that in the physical sense? Yeah.
Mm.
But is that a conversation that then you might have had with your husband as well? Because part of the problem sometimes is you see something like that and you struggle to communicate because it's about someone's confidence. It's about, when a man's manhood is affected, their entire confidence goes. Have
Exactly.
you had the courage to sort of have a conversation around, what can we do probably to sort of help you out of this situation before you can think about sitting with someone?
I believe we have men who call themselves men.
Mm.
Yeah. Before you address him as a man, he is feeling like a man. You shouldn't say anything before him. It's also a character in some men. So how dare you come and sit him down and tell him, you know what, honey, this is and this is the situation. Oba mukubyemu ebituli. You either go, wallah.
Yeah.
But Rashida,
But
you
Rashida,
don't,
this
you
is
don't
something
have to
you can
sit him
address with
down.
your
Why
auntie.
don't you sleep him down? Don't sit
No.
him down, because sitting down actually sounds like you've appeared in a court case, in a court situation. Is there
Nedda.
no better way to communicate this, or how to communicate this in a manner that would not take away the man's confidence? That's what I'm trying to sort of dig into. Ajat Sarah, you're speaking to Rashid.
Yeah, I was
You
telling
agree?
Rashida that these are issues that you can discuss with your auntie if you feel you can't talk to your man. Because there are many reasons why men some may be impotent. It might not be, they're impotent, not permanently impotent. It could be caused by some health issues, financial issues, psychological issues. There could be many factors that are affecting him. And mostly when men are affected by such factors, they do lose their, stamina, whatever they call it. They will not work in the normal way they would work.
Ajat
There's
Sarah,
something.
interjection.
Hmm.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum
How come
salam
you
wa
can
rahmatullahi
speak
wa
to your
barakatuh.
husband
Haj
and then you
Sarah.
bring in a third party? You
Well,
can't speak to your
Rashida
husband and you bring in a third party.
had just said that some men are the type of men you cannot speak to. They are there, but it's not a problem
But if
calling
he's your
your
husband, it
auntie.
should be somebody you have to speak to. You can find a way of
In
speaking to him without sitting him down. Like
I'm sure
Haj
Osama,
Kaira
that's
was
what
saying.
would be that would be the normal situation. But we know that there are men who cannot be talked to. Yeah, there are men who are men in their homes,
But then
and you
on a
cannot speak to
sensitive
them.
issue, Hajat, a sensitive issue of impotence, you bring in a third party, your auntie, to speak to him, or
Yeah, you
wouldn't that
do.
be?
You
But
do, you do.
Usama and Hajat Sarah, there might be issues there as well, because we are talking about men and manhood. Imagining that you're going to start, bringing your auntie to talk about the husband. Imagine if this husband is so confident when abasajja bakambwe abekambuwaza. Rashida referred to it that some men come in as men, and to touch their manhood, to take away what makes them men, okumukubamu ebituli, Rashida kyeyayise okukubamu ebituli, might have repercussions. That one, you are unable to speak to the person. Usama, you say it should be normal for someone to speak to their spouses, but you will be surprised that there are people who, two issues that sometimes become very difficult to have a conversation about: sex life and financial matters. In many homes, you'll find that these are kind of highly temperate. So the temperatures rise when these kinds of conversations come in. By bringing in an auntie, you're already, adding or pouring oil onto an already ignited fire. So in some instances, it might not be the easiest thing to sort of do. Rashida, you are back. I think you had just gone quiet. Probably want to speak to Usama or Hajat Sar as well. And I hope others are also in the conversation. Rashida, go ahead.
I'm sure it is a good debate. May Allah reward us abundantly. Yeah, I was still putting on that point, but I hope we can close it from there. And another thing, why we should call upon, not calling it upon, but we should consider it if it is to come our way, this thing of separation. omanyi nti buli w'obeera ewala ku muntu weezuula. Some of us, you sit in marriage and you're like in a lock. The man wants to find you home. You can't think wide. You can't do anything to put to put a brick on your life, maybe your future. And this is what some marriages do for us. So for the sake of this, for the case of this separation, ofuna kadde n'otuulako wekka in your me time, in your time, weezuula n'ogamba otuufu kandabe ekiddako watali bufumbo, kandabe, you know. Sometimes I think the separation is called for okwezuula gwe nga gwe.
Rashida, I don't think I understand because the way you are presenting separation like has two like dimensions. I don't know if it's me who is getting it wrongly, but the way you are presenting separation, it sounds like divorce in one instance, but also separation just as in someone going away. Because there are times when you go away, it's work, it's whatever, and it has taken you away from your base.
I'm taking separation as something before divorce. Huh? It's before divorce. You first separate, as Islam broke it up.
I think what we would use is okunova, ekigambo kunova, maybe.
Waliwo okunova n'onobera ddala.
Anti oyinza okwenobya ng'ogenda okudda baataddewo mutesi. Nga weenobezaamu oyagala mukugwenoonya. No, because I don't know if Rashida Akomyeona introducing us something else before we had actually exhaustively touched Haju Sama's point, which I think was standing in the way. And actually, Rashida where you have this conversation, a difficult conversation about a man's manhood, a man's power having gone. How do we approach that? Because I think to Mekubukira, so that we are sure we sort of moved away from this. You have a difficult man. My sincere apologies. Exactly. You don't even know where to start. Senga bwogenda okuyita ennyini bayinza omukwatira kibooko zimugobawo, and then it makes it very difficult to have a conversation. How would we deal with this? And I would like to hear from even the men. Are you able as a man to face up to this reality? It might be health. It might be circumstantial. Tension. And I think a level of understanding from the side of the women is really, really crucial. Okumanya omusajja's performance, because unlike women, men, there are women who will tell you, I'll be with my husband, like your mind might not even be there, but the person is able to be with you. With a man, you can't go anywhere. Like it's what it is. So within these realities, as a man, can you face up to this? And I see actually here in the conversation Fazil Mayanja, who I think would help me to sort of delve into this area. But Haju Sam as well, what do background? While I have Hajat Sarah and Rashida in the conversation so far. And Jadain I've seen in the background quite quietly. But Fazil, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Sheikh.
But so Mugo, and this faces us as men directly. Mchala Rashida Gambi, yes, you have a husband, Muslim temporary impotence. Fana'udhu billahi, very permanent. But we ended up with the situation of temporary impotence, resulting from either, a health situation, pressure at work, financial situations, and so on. You are, as a man, can you face up to this reality? How best would you want a woman to approach you on this? Rashida Yagami, to sit you down. Sitting you down honestly sounds like a class monitor being called or parents' evening where you're going to look at your performance. It becomes difficult. And I was suggesting sleeping you down. So imagine you are in your room, you're in your bedtime, and you bring up a conversation around how best to do it. But let's start. Let me hear your own take on this.
Yes, very interesting. Chimogera keto naye nze personally gundi style yange when nali njogereza mukyala wange, I think buli kimu nakilaying on the table, like ne making sure nti waliwo open communication as much as possible. Nti njogera bye njagala naye nambulira bye ayagala, then netwogerezeganya mu mbeera eyo nemba nga siina kye neerekerayo nga nze personally naye naaba nga as truthful as possible. Yes, because nze kyesaagalira ddala kunnimba, era wensensingamu akali nti waliwo ekitali kituufu, either you clear it up n'ombuulira nti kiri bwekiti oba si kyo, ngenda kukubeera doubtful. Kale ate obuzibu bwe nina nti wenfunamu ka doubt akati nebiri bye waŋŋamba emabega nabyo ntandika obibuusabuusa.
So Fazil, this is on general issues.
Yeah, on general issues. Kati ati nzija ku general issues. It happened to me, by the way.
Now?
One day. Numyako story one. It happened to me one day when we tried to of course, our second baby.
Oh,
and we had a few issues here and there. But personally, it's not something kale chandi ku 20 kale, and njagala nnyo biki. But all of a sudden, mukyala yajja n'angamba nti omanyi tugende ewa GP tulabe, bagenda tukolako tests tulabe, kuba nange bankozeeko tests ne bangamba nti ndi bulungi, the egg is there biki, so baagala naawe ojje tugende just bakole testing tonotono. So it didn't for me techa registering nti baba bagenda kunkolako test ya eyo gundi test bagiyita batya eyo okulaba gundi z'amazzi goba
your sperm count.
Yeah, sperm count n'okuba nti oba gali functional or something like that. So we go to the sorry, so we go to the GP omukyala n'atukolera appointment. Kati omukyala when nagende wa GP when nategeerera nti they want to check oba I perform or not. So mukyala n'agamba kakati kino, omuzungu ng'agamba kakati kino tubikola buli muntu biki so toweeraliikirira tobeera worried biki and all this kind of stuff. Nemugamba tewali buzibu njagenda nkole test. So ne tugenda ne bankolako test, then ne tulinda result. Kati mu kulinda result yawe, that's when it hit me. Sibanga mulinda bikaninamu nga sikyazaala or something like that. Negamba what if it comes back and sizaala or something of that sort. But it was just a mere, not sit time like sinti kyantwalira banga ddene nga nkirowoozaako, but it was just a small moment when nakirowolezaako. But to me personally, omukyala ne waba aleese ensonga oba ya ssente oba ya baana or something, principle kati nze gye nnina, I would rather face it ne tukyogerako ekyo ne mmanya nti no kijjewo mu mutwe gwange tukisolvinze ne tugenda ku kirala. Because I know the more I keep thinking about it nekidragging, the more gye kivuuka ekizibu ekinene nti I have to address it. So kati omukyala ne waba azze kati ngono nga mukyala wange yajja recently, nze nalaba nti she handled it very well. Nti it was my first time to experience it. Ne bagenda ne bakolako tests, of which tests zagenda okudda nga ziri positive, which was really good. But I think it all goes back, Sheikh Kassim Kiddayo, back to communication with your spouse. Ndamutyawe mwatandika obanga afumbira mutabuliki ng'okimanyi mukambwe. I think before kumufumbira olina okumanya nti ku nsonga enkambwe ngenda mu approaching antya. Kitegeeza. Ku nsonga enkambwe ngenda mu approaching nga sente za rent zituuse, yaweddemu abugumye enju, waliwo financial difficulties oba mu approaching in a good time. So the best part, I think it goes back in communication, like
Fazil, I see Mariam's hand up and I'll go to Mariam shortly. But Fazil, putting a question yange, you've also touched it only one side of it. ekintu ky'okuzaala n'okufunctioninga kuli okulala are two different things. Omuntu yenna ojja kusanga abantu bangi basobola okuzaala whatever mu mbeera y'okuzaala, but impotence eri yabadde yogerwako si impotence ya butazaala, waliwo functionality. Ekyo kyabadde kiriwo kyekino Rashida was saying, omwami atuuse ng'olaba takyavaayo, he's down. Down kati gikwate mu context yeyo until we have to be sensitive on the language that we use.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I get you now.
What to see that truly decent or crossing,
Yes.
But at the same time, kino si kyakuzaala buzaze ky'oganti bagenzi
functioning
kuzaala waliwo okutuuka kuno ng'ebyasitukawo byaganye. Communicating this is not an easy one. And katulanga kiri ekyomukyala, yes, mukyala was
yes, I understand.
But even as a normal man, omusajja yali asobola okukambuwala okukakkana nga bazzomu obubaka omuga nti agende to the doctors abeerenga that's where you're coming to find out that this has happened without prior knowledge.
Oh yeah. No,
Fazil, nakiri ekyogamba nti ng'omukyala agetinga atya okundraginga wa doctor wa GP nga simanyi yakoze dda appointment nekinga nze simanyi antwala atya blindly like that nti no how comfortable.
No, omukyala yamugamba wala Usama there was communication, so it was not coming out.
The communication was after he said katwino genda to collect test agami wantuko wa GP
you have refused. Mariam's hand is up, so definitely, and Rashida's hand is back up, which means we are getting into an interesting side. Usama, go ahead, finish please.
Yeah, wetuba tukidiscussing then mugamba kale kola tukole booking tugende biki ne omukyala yagenda nabakola test. Omusajja najja amugamba wetaaga bakoleko test. Tamanyi naza test zagenda mukolako. Natuuko wa GP. Nti we natuuko wa GP Dr. Naryoka nga buli omuntu kimukola ontwala otya wootyo nga tombuulidde. That is a red flag for me. Absolutely a red flag.
No, twakyogerako before tukyogerako like because it wasn't like a very big issue kale kangambe oba maybe bwali buto oba kikisimanyi, but for me it wasn't ekyokuba nti. But to your point, Sheikh Kassim, personally, I think maybe my generation ya mwendala ne yafe endala personally. What I mean is nti utugeze kati nze wemba awuzu bilanga ekizibu kinzijidde nganze nze ng'omusajja ng'ate mukyala wange of course nti aneetaaga to some extent. Of course, there are so many different other things. So, of course, within the realm of realm as in moral,
yes,
Islamically as well as socially, nebifananange. Inti the topic eyomukwano, it's very elaborate. So kati omuntu ogenda no somako ku bintu ebimu definitely olaba nti but of course gwe ng'omusajja oyinza okufiirwa mu mbeera eyo, of course oyinza okubeera traumatized na biki, naye nze personally I think nti for as long as omukyala wo omukeepinze ali happy to some extent, I think it should suffice. Naye of course era nga tutayagala kubeera explicit, naye nga nze kyemmanyi is nti
Mariam, go ahead please. Mariam omukono alabika gumufuuyirira omukono. Fazili tumuulire Mariam, I think it might be a question for you. Mariam ate ye muting. Mariam, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Ate ngenzo kuwa ask to unmute. Okay, go ahead please. Unmute. Mariam Bademsen, okay, yes.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Nze mbadde nyongereza ku ekyo eky'omwami okuba nti abaami baba baagala nnyo okubeera nti basigala balina privacy yaabwe ate nga balina ego eyo tasobola kukkiriza kumugamba kintu ng'ekyo wadde okirabye nti tasobola. Ayagala nnyo osigale nga gwe olinga takitegedde.
Mukafiiramu.
Ye abeere nga ye akyali mwami, kubanga omwami okumugamba nti munnange naye ensonga eno kandaba tegira kiki kye tuyinza okukola, ayinza okukambuwala n'ennyumba n'agyokyako omuliro. omuggyeko ekitiibwa wadde akimanyi nti ekintu kino tekikola
Absolutely. And that was
ekitiibwa
my
ekyo kubanga gy'omuyita omugamba empola omugaye nti munnaake kubanga ojjukira nti kyo kyennyini kimu affectinga first kati gw'ogenda okiraba nga ye ali mu muudu etetegeerekeka n'ogamba oba ono yabadde ki oba yabaki wiiki namba siraba 2 weeks ali mu muudu gye sitegeera kati nga ye already kimaze omuaffectinga kati gwe tolina bw'omuatandinga n'omugamba owange munnange sembere eno naye oba tukoze tutya oba mwabaki kakati gw'olaba kwegamba already tolina bw'osobola mwatandi okuggyako nga omuntu oyo kubanga buli abantu baakula banjawulo okuggyako ng'omuntu oyo mukkakkamu nnyo nomugamba munnaani naye ndaba embeera kiki ekiri mu maaso nga ndaba ng'ekintu kitage asobola okwatula naye abasinga tebasobola by 70% tebasobola
singa aba yatudde n'akubuulira
kubuulira n'omugaati
n'amutegeera
nsobola omutegeera mugamba tusale amagezi oba tugenda wa dokita oba tugenda waani tusale amagezi kubanga nange mba ndi understanding am human nsobola okukitegeera naye ekizibu abaami tebakkiriza kuba nti bo bebasemba nakyo tebasobola asigala ye ali waggulu ayagala 100% nga gw'oli mu 50 kyekyo kyennyini yeeyo entoosa yange.
Barakallahu fikum Hajati Mariam. Yes, omukono ndaba Rashida bukyaliyo ni Hajati Sara, you are still open. Simanya wambadde
I was trying to emphasize what Hajati Mariam has said. Ate bw'asangibwa nga mukambwe ng'oli gwe wagambye omukambwe omuzivayo era ekibooko zivaayo ayinza okusakata kibooko naawe ne weewuunya. So it's a very sensitive feeling for me.
It might be due to things that are beyond the person's control. Like we said, things like medication, things like financial pressures, things like kakati. Sometimes maybe they might be able to get themselves out of harm's way and come back. Okumugamba kiyinza okuba nti ate kimwongeddeyo gye yabadde adda n'aba nti avaawo ayitawo wiisi.
Kassim waliwo ebyogerwako n'ebitayogerwako. Oba oyogedde ku busajja bwonna kifuula omusajja omusajja. Kati gwe olwoyogerako obanga questioning obusajja bwe. Kale kiyinza okugirako ebirala. Abasinga obungi sebagamba nti bonna naye nga abasinga obungi waliwo ekitayogerwako.
Omukono guli waggulu gukooye.
Omukono Rashida, go ahead. Ndete Haji Isa Makumbi ndaba naye azze. We need to hear from this. And if you've just joined us, Banage, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. And tonight we are talking about, well, many marriages. Many people will be telling you how to get married, but not many would tell you how to get separated. And we are looking at the things that might actually push you there. Probably things that you should be talking about at the time of preparing for marriage. Imam Kasozi Sebo Nakurabye, or what we'll say mu conversation. I hope tukwebaza okuba nti ozze kubeera part of the conversation. We do not take your time for granted. Rashida, go ahead, please, so that then tuete Imam tuete Isa Makumbi, please.
Yeah, bismillah. Pozi nja kuddako emabega ku Mwami Mayanja point gy'abadde aleeta. I didn't want to intervene because I wasn't given a chance. Ayina engeri gye yaleeseemu ekintu kye nti there is communication between him and the wife. Alhamdulillah, this is the best we should consider. Naye, how is this communication? Batugamba ate nga bwe butuufu bwakyo oba onaaleeta ekibi ku mmeeza soosaako birungi kitegeera. Jangu omugaye mwami wange, alhamdulillah sente zijja, alhamdulillah kino kijja nga muli woowumbawumba the last big bad thing. Yani tomutuukirako. I talked about sitting him down. Sitting him down is not like putting him on force.
Yeah, the picture, the mental picture that
no, that's
sitting him down.
How can she put him down? Otherwise, it was just a mere sit down and talk. Some people call it the coffee thing. You can sit down maybe as you do something, maybe you can also lie on your bed as you talk about it, but sitting him down is talking to him. That is my point. Otherwise, engeri gy'onoomugambamu osooka ku birungi by'akoze oleke kumulaga nga kino kyaliko oba obutafunctioninga bwe is the big deal. Yeah? Sooka omuwumbe omukube mugambe, you know what, this alhamdulillah, and this alhamdulillah, and this you're too good at this. Actually, it would be too much. Then you just bring one bad thing. Nayo yomba nnyo. Nayo kola kino nnyo. You see? You're preparing someone to hear the bad news. Nature communication eyo. I don't know. That is how I can talk about it.
But Rashida, before I bring in Haji Samakumbi, point Hajat Mariam Jialese was very, very important. That by the time you are going to introduce this particular topic, but by the time you are moving towards this conversation, this man is not, it's not like it's breaking news that you're bringing to him. It's breaking news to you, but this person is already aware that there is a problem happening.
I will
And
say
if for
something
that time
about
they have not gathered the courage to be able to tell you before you raise it, psychologically, this person might already be feeling down because they have found themselves in this particular situation. By you coming to introduce it, actually, yes, even worse.
bubuno obuzibu tulina ng'abakyala. This is the problem with us as women.
Yes.
Abasajja oba abaami baffe abasinga, they don't open up to us. Do you know why? Abakazi twanguwa. A man can tell you something, maybe tell you something. The moment you two disagree or get an argument, by'omuvuma byennyini. Front. Exactly. And men don't like to be undressed.
No.
Tebagala ku, yani ku, abeera kigambye nga gwe as the wife, naye abakyala it's our weakness actually. Kuba bwe ebyokulwanisa bye tulina, waleeta ebikonde ng'omuvuma, you know, you're like this, you told me this and this. Abakyala ekyo tujja kivaako. Otherwise, abatajja kuddamu kugamba, financial issues, this is a matter of talking about it. Oba ofunye ebimutawaanya bye bigenda omusuula manpower ye. It is a matter of maybe talking about it. Oba n'omufunira ku ddagala, or you advise him, or you console him in some way or another. But if there's no this communication, because there's no trust, there's no this end-to-end encryption. Agenda kugamba kino, ogenda kimuvuma. Agenda kugamba kino, ogenda kiralaasa. In a way of asking for ideas or advice, obeera omwambudde omwami. So abaami abasinga ne beesigaliza ebyabwe. This is the stress
movies outside social media and so on. Do they contribute? With younger couples now, the level of patience, the Hajat Mariam approach, the Hajat Sarah Semakura approach, the Rashida approach is almost dead because they come into this relationship with particular expectations, high expectations, that now once performance is affected in one or another, then the level of patience to even see through a process, building the person won't even have that. Does it cut across generations?
It really does. In a point that you'll find a grown-up man, abasajja bakuliridde, you know your energy is reducing with time. What makes you go in and marry omwana muto wa myaka 15 abeera too demanding, you know? This will put you on pressure, one thing. Yeah, this will put you on pressure because this girl is very eager. Omwana ina amaddu in all angles. Yeah. So you'll be a disappointment. Otamusindika and the other way, then it will be a separation. Well, asobola okubeera naawe naye nga outside she gets the services, you know? Which is not nga si kye kintu kye twagala right now.
Haji Isa Makumbi for the men. Tufa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Rashida. Yes, Isa Makumbi, go ahead.
Issue bakyala babuleminga nnyo abasajja. Naye waliyo scenario zaali bbiri in my life. Mu 80s, 90s awo. Ng'okufuna mortgage bagamba kugenda ku test ya HIV. Twagenda ffemme ku test ya HIV. Dokita n'atugamba nti mu wiiki bbiri mujje. By then tebyayanguwanga nnaku zino. Ti mu wiiki bbiri mujje mbawe result zammwe. buli omu n'agaana okugenda ne guyitawo mu mwezi gumu dokita n'aweereza ebbaluwa bbiri buli omu ng'erina buli omu kulika munne.
Yes.
Bwe ffenna twayingira no mu nnyumba oli agenda okulaba evudde wa dokita n'ono avudde wa dokita buli omu n'agaa nti sooka osome eyo oli n'agaa nti lwaki nze ozisoma. Twajjayo coin ne tugitoosinga gwekisooka okukola ki okugisoma naye result bwe zaavayo nga ziri clear, it was just relief. Buli omu n'agaa nti kale lwaki tewagenda kukima results. Ekyokubiri kyali bw'omuntu ngeri nga tomanyi nti omuntu afuna omulimu for life nga bwe gyali nga gino egy'e Kampala oli talowooza ku returns eziri eyo. Out of the blue director Joga tugenze okukola reshuffle so and so you've been surplus to our requirement. Tukusaba okole ki oddeeka payslip ejja kukola ki ejja kuweerezebwa. Naye ngenda nga nvuga mugamba nti namugamba nti sina kyenkoze naye the job has gone. Oli n'agamba nti kirabika there's something funny, something wrong with you. Namugamba nti totegedde otya nti si bw'obeera naye okujja omugamba nti navudde aka nengenda okukoma nga sirina mulimu. It was just a big experience okumugamba mpaka namugamba nga ndimpulira nti I've let her down, I've done so much, I've got a family, how am I going to feed the family, the bills are coming. Nolabudde nga obuzibu bungi nnyo naye kyeyaŋŋamba ye life ya wano oba omulimu gugenze kasita gw'okyaliwo. That's everything. Nekinjigiriza engeri gy'ohandlinga some situation okuva olusaaki ati redundancies and I went through so many of them naye nga manya nti just a normal thing. Naye batugamba okuwasa kyetayogerako. I was very clear. Oli n'omugamba nti nalaba amawulire mangi nnyo nti yes if we separate tukola tutya. We discussed it. Nze zino ekyange nawe nzina ekikyo buli omu kyeyajja nakyo yalina okukola ki kyalina okugenda nakyo naye bye tukoze ffe embiriri we have to share. Ne tukkiriziganya nti that's the way forward. Mubaamu in marriage divorce is possible, anything can happen. Olino gy'ogamba nti yes kino tukikoze abaana babeerawa. Eyo issue yali yamaanyi nnyo nti if we divorce abaana babeerawa olina nga tulina okutwala abaana bo.
At what point were you having that conversation? How many years into the marriage?
After 8 years.
Yes.
Olina topic. We discussed those topics. In case we separate. Ane nabeera n'abaana yange n'okutwala abaana bo namuga sisi wange babo neefuuka ki issue. Olina ojjoga nti yes ne tutyogerako nti bantu badivorcinga ne batamanya issue yaki y'abaana. Olina oga nti yes if anything happens olina okukola ki okutunulako. Ate n'ekirala ekiri mu life ffene naddala abavubuka addala balowooza nti life yonna smooth sailing temuli bizibu ne batatunulira bizibu ebirimuko. Olina gy'osinga n'omuntu nga financial struggling. Why don't you tell your wife that I'm having problem about cutting expenses so that we tubenga tukala living a normal life? In most cases the government yes should anything happen kiki okukola. Olina oga nti 1 2 3 4 enejja okuvaawo oba n'emmotoka yejja okukola ki okusooka okugenda oba olina kino ekisooka okukola ki ekisooka okugenda. Olina abanga olunaku opreparinga nti should anything happen. Kati nga oluusi tujja ne discussinga if I drop dead how are you going to cope? Olina plan gy'olina. Olina ogiga nti yes ki gy'olina gy'otaddewo kati in case I drop dead. Olina ogyomuga nti yes kino kirina nkoze kino bwe kiti to make my life be easier nga nze nkoze ki nga nvuddewo. If we go yes
Haji Makumbi, question yabaddewo njagala ngireete gy'oli kubanga now at least you've been married for quite some time. Issue eno ebadde yagenze kuwafa ziri nejja mu Rashida nejja mu Hajati Sara Hajati Mariam naji participating the issue of growing impotence, as we grow older, once you hit 40 olwotandika okuyingira mu giri emyaka, nabbi sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually bw'okoona wali mu 5 n'oyingirako mu 6 ng'omaze okuyingira mu buwambe bwa Allah, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Once we start getting this temporary impotence, how would you handle that? Would you be willing to be told? What would be the best way to communicate to you? At least of want information here, osobola okugiteekinga in well.
Kubanga ky'omuntu olina omugamba nti yes, age is catching up. That's a normal phenomenon. Buli muntu yena gyali batuukatuuka oluusi n'aba ne problem bwezityo. How can you deal with it? N'omanya nti I have to do some exercises. I have to exercise, not have a big belly. N'omanya nti what type of diet I have to eat. Sijja kufaana muwala wa myaka 17, 18. That's no go area. If you go there.
Eragambye Rashida kitulegere tajja kitegeera. Naam.
If you go there, you will bring problems to yourself. Kano jimanti wemanya agala kujja haja tekyange ekyokubiri. Nonya haja teri mu same bracket asobola ki? Wenkoma. Naye sijja kugenda ku mwana myaka 19, 20. That is suicide. Ate gye mugamba nti yes.
Sara alabika alina kyakugamba Haji Makumbi.
No, let's
Okay.
It's okay.
Sigarawo Bwana Isa
Yeah,
Makumbi.
it's okay. Let's Haji Makumbi finish. I just want to tell a small story after he's done.
Now?
Ate ekisinga
Let him finish.
kasita kusako pressure. It becomes worse. Kimunyonyo things are not working out like that. How should we go over it? Then we'll be discussing. Nemukimukiriza nti this is my ability, this is what you are, this kino kyoyagala na kino kyenjagala, kino kyensobola na kino kyensobola. Kati nekirala
obuzibu bw'eddagala ly'oba omanyiziza omuntu obadde oli empeke 3 times 1 times 3 oba 3 times 1, all of a sudden kati noga nti dose yakusalwa 1 a week, 1 a day, 1 a month.
Tokikola bwe kityo omugamba poliisi nga nti nkuvudde ku nkola ennyonyi n'ebintu bingi ebizibu bingi ebigiramu. Lwete olina kukola kirina okugira okukendeerako
naye can you make the excuse?
Naye most likely olaba nga biseera bino ebya summer, you go somewhere where it is hot, nobeerako eyo nemubanga muli babiri ne discussing those issues, n'okyusa environment, bw'ogenda ebweru eyo things work out better. That is nzimaze okiraba bw'ogenda n'oga nti kati ngeze kodde tuli babiri fembi. You come to understand each other nga oluusi n'environment ekyusa ebintu n'ekuteekako a lot of pressure. Naye bw'ogenda mu new area oyinza okwesanga oli kabiriiti. Onamanya nti bwe nnaaba nina problem nga tugendawo tugende somewhere else ajja kuba kabiriiti. N'amanyira.
Hajat Sarah Rabiko Inacho Gamba, and I'll bring Diana in as Hajat Sarah, go ahead. Diana.
So I was talking about separation, that a few ladies have tried it, where they have had difficulties in their homes. But then when they went back to their parents' homes, they waited and waited, and the husbands were not coming to pick them up. Because normally we have that kind of thing where when you separate with your husband, you expect him to come to your parents' home, doing some gomases and stuff, and then you discuss things through, and then you come back. So one lady called her husband because it was getting a bit too long. He wasn't coming, and she had gone even with the children. I was like, why is it that you're not coming to my parents' house and you know you have things to sort out? And my husband was like, oh, I thought you went to visit, and I was thinking that you might come when you're ready. So he wasn't taking into consideration that they had issues, and he didn't seem bothered that the husband, the children had gone. And another one, when the lady left like that, and he went to speak to the parents, he already had the wife's stuff in the car. And when they demanded stuff and he wasn't ready to change, he just said, okay, you can have. And they said, if you don't change, we're not giving you our daughter back. And I said, fine by me, I'm not going to change. So I thought that would be the end of things. So I also have your daughter's stuff. And he dumped everything to them and left. So also with separation, you have to be careful how you do it, because it might end up the end of your marriage.
When you thought you were going to and you lose out totally.
Yeah,
Now,
how you handle it.
Ajimakumbi was talking about holidaying, and I think and I think this is the beauty of these conversations. If you've just joined us, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on UMA Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. I was saying the idea of the beauty of these conversations is I was saying point gye waleesemu eya holidaying
omanyi sheikh
sokolekemu katono badde nga nti
boogedde
tulina okukyusa. There are certain things ebirina
kukyusa
bannayuganda twagala nnyo okukola ssente nolowooza nti ojja kukola ssente kati ekibuuzo kizze wali eyaddoza abadde Haji Usama agaye nti munaagenda mu holiday emirundi emeka. So you are worried about the money but not worried about what changes this would do to your marriage. Go ahead, Haji. Ndigendete Diana.
omanyi ekintu ekiri ku bantu wali walowooza nti bwogenda ku holiday is very expensive. Holidays, there are cheap holidays kasita omanyi how to play the game. Ate oli bwogenda mu kifo ekijja environment ekyuka kubanga ojja kubeera awo hajati afumbe awo olabe agenda okulaba nga byonna bikoze ekibikunyiye, naye bwogenda mu kifo ekijja buli omu arelaxinga n'ofuna ne belief in yourself. Ekisinga okuleeta omutawaana losing confidence. Naye bwogenda mu kifo ekijja you don't lose confidence, ova ne confidence. Ate nerala bw'omuba muli awaka kyuse ku kitanda kikyuseemuka ebintu ebitono bwe bityo bikujjako pressure ne stress ekisinga okuleetera ddala okutumala ogundi awo nga toli mbooko stress ne pressure kasita okulinga ddawo.
Haji Makumbi, you are just on point there kubanga olina lwojja okujja omukyala ajje already obadde mu ziri stresses eza tuli wansi bakutuusize mu bizibu ebiriwo bills eziri and then someone expects off the back of that conversation straight away ogende kati ogende okukiika embuga. The combination of the two simply might not work, especially if the stress is financially related. Okay, allow me to bring in Diana. Diana, please go ahead. Diana, go ahead. Haji Issa sigarawo ebeerawo ngenda kuzza. Let's hear from Diana, please. Diana, you're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Mbalamusizza nnyo mwenna abawuliriza. Nsobola okukozza olulimi Oluganda, siiwo?
Please, but we have some English speakers. Bw'ogira n'otabikatabikamu naye Oluganda vuga.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
I just wanted to comment on a few things that Haj Issa, I think, said. It's very important to not talk about the issues concerning your marriage in your home, especially when they're difficult topics. It makes it easier if you went out maybe on a dinner or a dinner date or to the park or for a walk. I find that when you go out there, you don't have to spend money. It's good to go on holiday, but you're not going to go on holiday for, every time you have an issue to talk about. It could be a financial issue. It could be a sexual issue, lots of issues. It could be raising children. And I find that it works best, in the moment, in the heat of the moment when you're angry, or it may not be an issue of anger, but there's lots of things in a marriage that could get you angry, angry at your spouse. I find that when you go out and say, okay, I need a minute. Can I have a minute to myself? Or can we plan a time when we can talk about this, when we are less, when ngatetuli ku muliro nnyo. But nandyagadde okwogerako naawe n'otegeeza muno nandyagadde okwogerako naawe ku nsonga eno naye twanifunyeyo akadde olowooza budde ki obunaasaanira kwegamba nga bw'obeera ku mulimu kubanga n'obufumbo business. Marriage is a business. So the same way you take care of your business or your job is the same way sometimes we have to deal with the marriage. Until you're polite at work, introduce that politeness in your home. Buuza nti owulira otya leero, oli ku level ki leero, how much can you offer right now? Ayinza okuba ali ku 20% nga gwe oli ku 100%, but he can't give any more or you can't give any more. It's always good to talk about these things. Not in the bedroom, not on your marital bed. Okay, mugende mutule mwogere. It's when you come back after talking through these things, somehow there's a waliwo embeera etebenkera. Kyonna ebibanyumira eyinza okuba gym, eyinza okuba spa, eyinza okuba dinner oba movie, and as you walk back home you talk about this thing. Anyway, that is just a comment on that area. Then going to
Diana, I heard you well, and I have a question, because that is well said. Actually, it sits pretty well with the line of the conversation, but there are issues to do with human nature. Quite often, abakyala naddala bw'atuuka nga she's been sexually stabbed. The level of angst gy'aba alina okuleetamu okutegeera okw'obugumiikiriza obunyumya ku mbeera gy'oga nti kadde ekikolowooza kw'osobola okufuna might be a difficult one. They want it there, they want it now. You know, when I come and I'm burning, I need to discuss this.
That's
Probably
where
the man are buying a time, trying to extend keeping pushing it, and the woman is busting and therefore just wants it there and then.
Okay, Haj, by the time she's busting, there's unresolved anger there. There is an unresolved conflict. Nti chiba tekyakatandika kubanga bwe mba ndi ku muliro tegwaka sisaawe nnyinza okugumamu awo naye bwe kiba kitutte a long time nga my sexual needs are not being met, then we have a problem. Bwebanga erectile dysfunction is the issue, then I think I would urge our men, as they grow older, to be open enough to talk about these situations. Naye naffe nga abakyala, yes, oba n'enjala nkimanyi kuba wotuuka 38 and above, between 38 and 45 emibiri gikyuka oba ku muliro nnyo. But waliwo engeri gy'osobola okwogera. There's a way you can talk to your man about erectile dysfunction. Be polite, go into his shoe, have some empathy. Okay, if he's not sometimes men are too proud to talk about these issues, but there's nothing to be proud of, to take pride in. It's a real issue. It affects men. All men.
Diana, men coming in to be open and talking about it now becomes a weapon that is used against them after. Let me give an example, because it's happening in our community. Our sisters, our friends, we talk about these issues. So there was a case where, well, I don't know if I should, I'm not disclosing names, but I did ask a friend and I said, you know what, tonight when it happens, because for her issue, her case was that guy yali asituka omulundi gumu ate n'ayangwa okumala mangu n'asonyiwa ate n'abanga tasobola kuddamu gwakubiri n'amuleka nga she's always wanting. Ne mugamba nti kale there's some tablets ze bagaba okuyamba abaami ku erectile dysfunction. You can take that tablet an hour before and see how that goes. But ask him politely and say, this is how I'm feeling, but can we try to get, they offer this service, ABCD, or at the GP or sexual health clinic, wherever, jebabugaba. Olabe chikyalowooza. Oba sekyo, anti kati bannaffe bannaddiini bayinza okugamba nti you can't introduce toys in the home. I'm sorry, I really apologize if it offends you, but for some people it tends to work. They do omwami asanyusa mukyala we okusooka, then naye n'alyoka ajja n'amala akagoba ke. Naye munsonyiwe bwe kiba nga kyoffendinze. No.
But
this is a mature conversation, and it is still within the confines, within the boundaries.
Yes, abafumba abamu bwe balaba nga kiganye ba introducinga obuntu obumu obuyambako okustimulatinga omukwano n'okusobola okubamatiza mu area y'ekisenge. Kati awo enja okukoma.
No, thank you very much, Diana.
Badde nakamu wali akalala naye it's on a different topic. So
okay, no, kati ekibuuzo kyange kidda ku topic ya tonight.
Yes.
At what point should we have these kinds of conversations? Should it be part of the preparation where we say, in case you find yourself in a situation like this? Because from all the submissions tonight, it is
Yes.
absolutely clear that at one point in life, omusajja ajja kutuuka ED etandika okujjamu, that's erectile dysfunction.
Yes.
Once it comes in, should it constitute now part of the conversations of preparation for marriage? Because ultimately it's going to come. Ajat Sarah, no, that's not the point in time. You'd rather when it comes, then that's when it will be discussed. Is it too late to leave it until you get there?
Do not leave anything unsaid. Do not leave any stone unturned, Montandikwa. Because wano bw'oba olayira, simanyi bwe mulayira mu mbaga y'ekisiraamu. Kati ffe tugamba mu bulungi ne mu bubi, mu bulwadde ne mu bulamu, sickness and health. Mu ntandikwa kirungi nnyo wano mu courtship, era ne tutapapa nnyo okufumbirwa nti mu courtship wano nga tuvudde mu dating ne tudda mu courtship ne twogera ku buli kintu ekikonsaninga ebintu bye twagala, wa gye tulaba obufumbo bwaffe. How far are we viewing? Are we seeing? What is the vision for our marriage? What are our intentions for this marriage? Okay, if I got sick, yinza okuba ng'alwadde cancer, yinza okuba ndwadde ekirwadde nga sisobola naye ng'alina okunda nga afuuse caregiver wange nga sisobola muwaako naye tasobola oba bw'aba mulwadde. How do we deal with such situations? It's good to talk about everything mu ntandikwa, and you have an idea. Yes, okukyogerako kikuwa gy'olaga. It may not be the case when it's happening, but then because you spoke about it and you're like, okay, remember, Han, we said that if such and such happened, we would maybe get help, we would consult, or we would get, my sister or my cousin or so and so, but achali muto, she can always come and help, or he can help, or my mom, or like, nga muyina society eyo gye mulaba nti gye mumanyi gye mwekutteko mu bufumbo, kubanga ffe tulina nnyo, I think in our community we have a lot of individualism and think that twemalirira, but olaba bannaffe si bonna naye bannaffe abava mu zino ensi, India, Japan, China, they have a lot of collectivism. They work together. They work as societies together. So we also, if we can lean on our societies, we can lean on the friends that are there and not build those relationships to help us in those times of need, in those times of joy as well. It would be very, anyway, sorry. But the question you asked me, yes. I would say, let's talk about everything in the beginning, during courtship, before marriage, because sometimes we may like this person, but they're not for us, or you're not for them. And people think that we always have to have children. There are people who don't want children. There are people who are not motherly. There are people who are not nurturing. You have to, during courtship, I know the pressures of society. Oh, what's that deal? When are you getting married? Listen, those people are not going to be there when all this trouble is happening. So I urge all the young people, or even the older people who have been married before and it hasn't worked and they want to get married again, talk about where you want to go, where you see yourself, where you see that relationship or that marriage.
Thank you.
You even talk about your grandchildren and the savings and where you want to retire. Yeah.
Fantastic first timer and beautiful presentation on the spot. 29 minutes past 9 o'clock in the United Kingdom. The program is Calm. Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on Umma Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Several hands coming up. I'll come to Rashida, then Umar, then Isa Makumbi. But before I do so, just quick reading through the messages here in the chat room. Remember, some people are Shylocks, won't be able to speak in the program, but you can at least type out which Hajat Sarah here says, I was saying that going on holiday could really work. The only problem would be if it is expensive and you don't have much money, you might end up getting more stressed and becoming more impotent. Now, Rashida here was saying, why are we emphasizing the outings? Just venture your house. You don't have to spend decorate a table with candlelights and spill the beans wherever you go. It is the same matter you will talk about. The issue of impotence, said Sajid Sarah, also depends upon when it happens in a relationship. For newlyweds, it could be difficult to understand or tolerate. For those who have been in marriage for years, it is a matter of discussion and finding out what the problem it is. You can look for a solution, whether medical, emotional, physical, or environmental. Fantastic so far. Rashida, I'll come to you. Keep it short so that we can move to Umar and then Isa, please. Go ahead, Rashida. Hello, Rashida. Just try to get you to unmute. All right.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's really a hot topic. We
Looks
hope
like
someone
we are
can.
touching the right chords tonight, because every time Wabanga waliwo akakusiye n'okoma. Go ahead.
Otherwise, I've had two people
Yes.
suggesting that we should talk about every matter, not leaving anything for yourself or to yourself. This is before getting married. I think this is completely no. I don't think you can exhaust yourself in and out to someone. There are some things someone will just know about you as you live longer, because come to think about it, people change day and night. I will tell you I'm like this and this, and you make me angry, and I'll be the quite opposite. So there are certain things I believe you cannot tell someone before getting into marriage, and they will have to know it when they're ready there. One of the two, maybe you don't know yourself better. Come to think about it, you can only know yourself when you open up an argument or a quarrel. This is how someone will tell you, you're even like this, you didn't know this, kisoboka ekyo toyinza kwemanya, oba oli awo kalabamu bemanyi, naye okwemanya okutuufu muntu yajja okugamba muleke akuzuule akwezuulire eri ebintu ebimu. Kale waliwo ebiri essential nga you really have to talk about it, like maybe your status, this is where you go for the test and all that. Naye ekintu kineno, this thing about your functioning, and we're speaking about a matter that you started when you have some little power, because
Yes.
you're aging in marriage, you're just getting down, and this is the matter you can talk about. How you address it is the point. Maybe you're aging, maybe stressed with work, and I brought a point across that most men would love to talk to us, but we are not welcoming. Maybe you'll tell me now, you make me angry tomorrow, and I'll blast the whole thing.
Yes.
This is something with us women. We are very weak, our tongue.
And actually, Rashida, allow me to emphasize this, because the point of these conversations really, and I thank you for your time, because everyone would be doing something else. The fact that you come to the conversation means you are valuing the kind of insights that we get from here. And hopefully we carry some of these things, pick out what is best, what works within your own environment. But when you're talking about the person, the individualism, there is a sense of loss of trust, because if I open up to you and I tell you my problem, in fact, I was just about to ask the question, why? Because women talk, but student days and so on, women could just go sit, check each other. They sort of talk about things much deeper. It is different for men. For a man oganti ofunyeyo omusajja munoge n'omugamba nti waayo ebigambo sikyasobola kutola shahadu, it becomes difficult. It's not an easy thing to sort of be able to open up to. Is it possible that as men, we could find ways of beginning to have confidence again, people that we can confide in and have such conversations? Because you could seek help before actually it gets to the point where, intervention has to come from elsewhere.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
Rashida, go ahead.
Bismillah, one thing we should consider as we find spouses, for those who don't have, and if you are already in marriage, just try and rebuild yourself. This issue of confidentiality, it has to happen, like it or not. Mumbeera yonna beera n'emmizi, teweeraala, satulaala sabaawo, in all ways. Otherwise, someone was saying that if there's a situation like maybe omwami asudde kumanyi, yani you talk to the senga, this is not appropriate. Obeera omwambudde omwami wo, ye abaffe ogenda kwogera na ssenga wa side ki, ssenga w'omwami wo oba ssenga. Otherwise, most of these issues we take to our spouse's side. Say maybe the woman has angered you and you choose to tell it to the woman's side. Oba tolina kyokoze, my friend. Oba tolina kyokoze. Kuba bagamba oli mwana waffe, tukuze tumulaba. Okitegeera. They'll just embrace, pamper her, and she'll come back. And if you tell your side, still obeera omwambudde, this is your side, for crying out loud. So byonna ne bikutabula. The best way would be making you, and most people say it, get married to your friend. See a friend in your spouse. Before you make him your wife, your husband, see a friend in him. See a friend in her. Awe tujja okwekuuma ndowooza.
Thank you very much.
Oyagala mukwano.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm stopping.
Thank you very much, Rashida. I'll bring in Omar, and then Isa, and Diana's hand is up. But Diana left one note in the chat room that was very, very interesting, actually, which works very well into Rashida's comment there about not going to spill the beans, well, to people outside. But Diana was saying, instead of spilling the beans, be the beans on the table and get eaten nicely. Omar, go ahead, please. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for the very nice topic you brought in today. And I thank everyone who has come up to Let's Talk Kassim Kayira tonight. I'm a bit late, but I wanted to contribute something.
Go ahead.
The thing was about what to talk about before marriage, and then who can talk about separation. I've been married for, I think, more than 8 years now. But my small experience says at least people should go into dating before getting married. I don't know, Islamically, it may not be allowed.
That's where I was just about to touch into. Yes.
Yeah, there should be a way of sort of trying to know each other.
Not dating, but you can.
Yeah, courtship. Yeah, I think I used the wrong term. Courtship. Yeah. Trying to know each other at least minimum 6 months before getting married. Because I've seen so many people rushing into getting married. You don't know each other. You don't know what they like. You don't know how they behave when they are angry. You don't know how they behave when they are stressed. So, and then things end up not working out. And then,
Omar, do you think you might be able to see someone under stress when you're just still dating? Because especially with women are very, very good in concealing, their mannerisms until you've lived with someone. Even with men, until you've lived with someone, you might never see that bit. Especially if someone is interested in you, they'll be so nice. You not see the other side until you start living with them.
I think for women, they can easily know us when we are stressed. But for us, it's so difficult. Like, yeah, true. Women are very good at masking. They can do that up to a period of, say, 2-3 years. But men, believe me, date him for 3-4 months, you'll see him. You have a date, you have somewhere, he has a loss somewhere, you will see when they are stressed. The other thing I want to say, Sheikh, is about now that people maybe are married already, how can they really iron out their issues? I think back the days there was kojas and sengas. I don't know whether in our situation right now, in our worlds, you know, European world, wherever you are, guys, there can be a network of sheikhs or imams or aunties, elders who can sort of sort out things, and so that we don't have marriage breakages, as at the rate which they are at the moment. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is,
people have come in to say the trusted people now are sort of thinner. They're getting thinner by the day, because you get sheikhs who can no longer keep secrets. The issue of confidentiality has come up a lot in the conversations that we've had tonight. Sheikhs, unfortunately, who cannot keep people's secrets. The sengas, who are much younger these days, you will go to talk to a senga to try to resolve your issues. She ends up stealing your man. as a way of helping you out of your dilemma. You have these coaches again who would do the reverse on the other side. It becomes a bit difficult. It looks like you even feel sorrier for the younger generation today, as in terms of how they are running and managing, their kind of relationships. It's becoming difficult to have these fallback. So you actually end up having to go into social services to find an expert who will come to help you, a relationship expert, losing the person that you would have been much closer to.
Yes, that's very unfortunate because there should be elders who are trustworthy. There should be somebody not actually trained in sexual education or something, but trained in our cultural manners, in sort of trying to, curb situations before running, out of hands. And that person should be able to sit on his two legs and say, look, this is what I've had. I'm not gonna say anything to anyone. I think that one can be developed, with time. If our society should benefit from marriage, because marriage cannot be a smooth, walk. There has to be ups and downs. I've been into it. I know how it is. Sometimes you just have to make do with it, but you have to fall back and forth and say, where can I go? Me, I find it a bit easier to speak to aunties of my wife, but sometimes I become a fool as well. But me, my objective would be, I have said it. At least I've said it. You understand? But yeah, I think that's where we are. But I would say,
thanks very much, well, question I've put to almost every man now, and
thank
I
you
can't
so
let
much.
you go without touching it. The question is about the issue of growing impotence that comes with over time. How would you deal with it? How would you handle an issue of the temporary impotence? How would you want a wife to communicate that to you? What would be a respectable way of communicating that to you?
I think married people should have, I don't know whether a table within their living room, which is about marriage matters only, or a day out where they can go and exclude themselves from the world and focus only on matters concerning their marriage. I think it's something the woman has got to bring out in a respectable manner, but also as a man, should accord it a bit of respect. Because, a woman will say, I'm in this marriage because of this and that. That's one of the reasons why she left her home to come to your house. But that something can happen to a man without him knowing that he's actually developing stress, this lifestyle, the food we eat, all those things contribute towards that. But again, it comes down to elders, who can, advise and then medical advice, perhaps.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thanks
you
so
very much,
much.
everyone. Barakallahu fikum. Yes, Issa Makumbi, please come back again, and then we'll go to Diana and Diana. Issa Makumbi, please.
It's a very interesting topic. For me, what I personally believe, never spill the beans out. It might come to haunt you. Very few people here nowadays keep the secretive. This media has become a problem.
Yes.
You tell someone the next day to be the talk of the day. So roughly, that mentality is, if you've got a problem, the people that involved in the equation, how to solve the equation. If you have got any problem, sit with your wife, go through it. If at all is anything related to medical, get the facts, show to him, get advice. What can we do? Usually, I find that they have some issues, some solution to all those problems. But saying to someone else is unacceptable, because nowadays keeping a secret, even you see government matters whereby they put a gag clause in your contracts. You find someone who is speeding up the bin somewhere, goes in the pub, something leaks out, someone picks it up. So two people concerned should really sit down and sort out their problems. If it is sexual problems, sort out. She'll give you an advice, how can you enhance it, or how can you improve it, or blah, blah. And the thing is, in marriage, you have to say that you have been with someone for so long. Why should we separate because of something that you know that one day to happen? You just have to tell them that one day you have to happen. Should something like this happen, how are we going to deal with it?
Well,
Usually, at least
patience,
they're open to your
patience
words.
doesn't come easy, Isa.
Yeah, but you weigh the two. You've been living with your madam for 40 years, 30 years. Is she willing to run away with a stranger? No, she's not willing to run away with a stranger because she say, I'd rather stay with the old groom that I know than be jumping with someone else. If you be confident, you talked about it, to do some research, there are some herbs or some artificial thing that can help you, or there's some medication that has been proved. But at times there's a problem. At times that if I take this one, what are the side effects? Should anything happen because of this? Then you weigh the two. If you usually much of the thing is stress-related problem that causes all those problems. You might
Thank
claim
you very
think
much,
that
Isa.
you are
Barakallah fikum. Let
important,
me bring in back
but with
Diana.
stress.
Diana, there's someone who's put a message in the chat room saying, we've over concentrated on men, and yet women do have issues as well. Would be interested to hear, first of all, your take on that, the issues that women have that probably men now would have to put up with.
Well, I'm not well versed in that, but the issues I know that affect women, it could be illness, it could be stress, it could be hormonal. All these issues can be, you can get help.
Please, okay, go
There
ahead
is
with
help.
your point, please. I just thought
Yes.
I'll catch you on that and just get a feeling of that, because I think there's been overemphasis on men, but of course the
Yes.
men being they are supposed to be men, as
Yes.
was said.
Yeah.
Yes. So
For us,
okay,
it's
go ahead,
usually
please.
psychological. Now, yeah, okay. Let me go back to my points. I just wanted to add on to what my other colleagues said. In marriage, I would like to take it that everyone on this forum now is a believer, or has a religion they believe in. There's one thing that has worked for me. I didn't know it when I was much younger. Well, I knew it, but I didn't know to what effect it could be. Prayer. Now, honest prayer. Sigenda nengamba nti kitaffe ali mu ggulu erinnya lye litukuzibwe. It's a good prayer. Oba nenkola salat zange. Sizimanyi nnyo, mujja kunsonyiwa, and I don't want to okugiyingiramu. Naye essaala eva ku mutima. Nengenda nenfukamira eri Katonda. Ne mugamba, Katonda wange omulungi, nkusaba oba tukusaba oleete abawabuzi abatuufu mu bulamu bwaffe. Abo abasobola okutulungamya. How do I even say? Okay, we ask you to bring us the right helpers, the right the right people to guide us through this issue. Nti buli kintu kyonna buli lw'okitwala ku nnamulondo ya Katonda, n'okisurrenderinga. There is a way, ne bwe kiba kitutte a while. Bannange, Katonda addamu okusaba. Simanyi Katonda mu bulamu bwammwe kyabakolera, naye ndabye nti Katonda addamu okusaba nti obufumbo bwe tukulembeza Katonda mu bufumbo bwaffe, ebizibu bijja kubeerawo. But every time we come back to the throne of grace, to that point of prayer where we pray together about the issues concerning us in this marriage, whether it's our children, whether it's our ntukuma akabaani, ne tusiiba, ne tusaba, ne twewaayo, bannaye Katonda akola mu bufumbo buno. That is my experience. And also about the men, I have 3 issues about men. Yes, men can within themselves start groups and talk about these issues openly, because when you hide these things, we're not going to find solutions. Let them talk about the things that trouble us in relationships. When you talk about things, you start getting answers, and then you find out you're not the only one that's struggling. You're not the only one that's going through an issue. Somebody might share openly. Let's not be afraid to share these issues openly. Like now we're talking about them. You never know what somebody who's afraid to speak might pick out from what you say, and then it could help them. And also therapy. It's okay to go for therapy. Couples therapy is really okay. You can have your own therapy. Look after your mental health, look after yourself, exercise, take the adrenaline up, do the things you love on your own, and then together you bring it all together to talk about these issues. Last point, nti our culture twakuzibwa nti tulina okuba n'emmizi. The areas emmizi weekolera, and I agree, sikikayanya. Naye mu mbeera gye tulimu ne mu nsi mwe tuli, emmizi ereese mental health issues nyingi nga depression n'abakyala okufuna psychosis kubanga basirise banyigirizibwa, n'abaami banyigirizibwa, nabo batulugunyizibwa. Naye bwe tuba tusobola okubaako gw'oyogerako naye, kale basenga tubaleko babakojja bw'aba tali qualified mu bwongo oba mu socially oba psychologically, ddayo era ku Namulondo. Number one, ddayo ku Namulondo oba saala ogijje ku mutima oba okusaaba edduwa ng'ekwata ku marriage bweba gyeri reciting, naye naawe jjayo ku mutima ekikuli ku mutima okigambe Katonda. I believe nammwe musaba nga ffe bwe tusaba. He answers prayers. He answers prayers, no matter how long it takes. And if it's two of you together, where two shall gather and pray and call on his name, he will be there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Diana. Very brilliant words of advice that actually cut across. Prayer, especially for a Muslim as well, prayer is central. It all starts with prayer, and then we delve into all the other things. Well, 51 minutes, oh my God, and it's been quite an interesting submission. I'd like to hear from some new voices as well, just regarding where we can go. Bwana Jaden, you've been so quiet today. Just trying to engage you, get you out of silence. I'm sure you've been, well, your own text so far, listening to the conversation so far. Hi, Jaden.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Long time, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine, and very interesting conversation as usual.
It has been, truly, yes.
Yes.
Your own take so far from what we've had, what we should be doing right. I mean, the sort of conversations that sometimes seem taboo, but conversations that we should have as we get married.
Yeah, before I take on my take, I just wish to point out that Diana has made some really valid points with whatever she was saying. And yes, the impression I get is that she's probably a marriage counselor or something like that.
Okay.
Because we see these things happening. But what I wanted to say is that marriage is a union of two sets of people who come with different characteristics. And where the problems normally begin is where there's no compromise. Because when the two unite, whether it's through arranged marriage or it's through what you'd call courtship for that period of 6 months or however long it is, there are attributes and features which you don't put on the table straight away. And these are what I would call your S cards. You don't want them to be seen at the beginning of the relationship in case the bird that you think is in the pocket suddenly realizes there's a red flag flying somewhere. Okay. It's not a weakness and it's not a strength at the same time, but it can be a way of strengthening that relationship, because you'll be testing the other person without knowing that do they have that attitude to compromise with some of your behaviors. Anger, for example, is very difficult for you to start displaying how you handle anger. Financial problems. Men have got a very good way of camouflaging it. And most times they wear the puffer jacket to show that that they are macho and they can handle these things. Whereas deep within themselves, it's something that they are crying out for help. And the reason that the men or most men don't cry out for help is that the women will use that cry for help as a weapon against you when the right time comes.
To remind you.
Yes. And when they remind you, it's not, they actually put your nose on the grinding stone and they make it worse for you. So men from experience know that they have to play some of these cards very close to their chest. Mm-hmm. Now, you touched on the issue of erectile dysfunction. And by the time it comes out, unless you are angels, by the time that problem comes out, you would have known it, both of you who share that bed. Because unless it's out of an accident or a medical problem, which is, say, you've had surgery on your back, for example, or you've gone for some surgery, and then it suddenly comes. Erectile dysfunction is something which comes gradually with age. So from that youngster who was able to perform 3-4 times a day for 4-5 times a week, you suddenly start flagging naturally. And it's not shameful. That's just the body's way of telling you that it's time to slow up. Because when you engage in that, we're adults here, when you engage in that activity, you are not just engaging the sexual organs. You're engaging your brain, you're engaging your heart is pounding, the hormones are pumping around. So the body is telling you, slow down. If you've passed your prime, if you've had children, or you are nearing the time to throw in the towel. So you move from 3 to 4 times a day to maybe once in 6 months if you're lucky. So it's
that's very dangerous now. That would be a talak aspect.
Yes. So you cannot tell the other partner that it's sudden. Mm-hmm. So for you to drag in third parties to discuss a problem which has been building gradually, you'd be doing yourselves a disservice. And again, the women can weaponize that and use it to belittle the man. And that's the last thing the man wants. Finances and sexual performances. Those are like red flags for most men. If you want to puncture his balloon, then talk about how he mismanages the finances or how he does not manage in bed. So talking about it is the beginning point, and making yourselves understand that this is a natural process. There are ways you can reverse it, the traditional ways people boil herbs, and there's the scientific way where there's medication to reverse it. But again, there are the dangers and risks of using medication when you are at that age, because you need to be attuned by your doctor to say you can manage the power of some of this medication, Viagra, Cialis, and whatever is there on the market. Otherwise, you'll be doing your heart a disservice. You'll be killing yourself slowly. So talking to your partner and understanding that this is a natural progression is the first step to solving it. It's just like women, because much as they are the recipients, there comes a time when women are less receptive to sex,
especially when menopause, perimenopause,
when menopause hits.
That line.
And
yes,
you cannot use the argument that it's a taboo topic to talk about. How about when the woman is in her menstrual cycle are you going to not to talk about it? Because that's also a natural process. Now, when I say women weaponize that weakness, they will start by asking you those awkward questions. I'll put it in Swahili. Siku hizi unipendi, manake umepata mwingine nje huko, which means these days you are flagging on me because you have got somebody outside there. Not understanding that is a natural thing. So by bringing that element of mistrust, again, it doesn't give you the confidence to bring yourself.
You actually under undue pressure.
Undue pressure, which you already have. So communication, very important, as Diana said. Negotiating, give and take, and how you approach certain topics. You just don't throw it on a man when, say, he's just come back from safari, he's done his losses there, or something's happened, a child is sick, and then suddenly you bring, oh, kumbe squeeze, you don't want to do this because of ABC. It does not help the problem.
No, someone did, Jaden, someone did flag it to me, and they said they arrived home and the wife was immediately asking, I hope tonight we will be doing. So immediately the person has arrived, it's the welcome notice. And immediately the person coils, even whatever was left now is lost because of the sudden pressure that now has brought into life to bear on the person.
Yes, that expectation of wanting or expecting you to perform and throwing it on you. Because if you look at how sex progresses, it starts with admiring the little things that are on display before you reach to that point. But if they throw it at you, that, this is now, let's go and do it now. You know, it can undress any man, and you just find yourself not performing. So the approach is really important.
Absolutely.
But again, we have to understand that when the women are at that point, when they need it, like somebody said, when they need it, and they need it now, and they need it urgently. So men, I think we are at a losing end when it comes to that.
Thank you very much, Jaden. The silence says it all. Hasfa, I'll bring you in because, well, you raised the point in the chat room to say, well, it's not only men that have issues, women do have issues as well. Hasfa, assalamu alaikum. Hello, Hasfa, you've gone quiet on me. Hello, Hasfa. Okay, I've seen some new people that I wanted to engage. Very, very fantastic presentations tonight. I need 2 men and 2 women, probably, so that we can wrap up tonight. Safina's iPhone. Safina, you there? Mariam in the chat room was saying, thank you everyone for an interesting topic. May Allah give us confidence between us and our spouses or partners. There's Amina Ya Rabbi there. Sauda, come to you. Safina seems shy in the Kamoli there. Sauda, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Manne tusiima nnyo tuweereza.
Allahumma amin.
Tubeerayo mu Kamoli naye nga tuwuliriza nga tuyita.
Kovuddeyo mu Kamoli kati it is crucial. Take away you tonight, having listened to the conversation. Kiki ky'oyinza okugaa nti ke ka take away k'opakidde mu bbaaga y'ekiro kya leero ng'ova mu conversation.
Kenjize bingi naye nze nange nzikiriziganya ngamba topic eri very sensitive kati kumanya muntu wo na kumanya omukwato otya. Kogera naye mpola tokireeta tokikubawo bukubi ate era muba mwemanya kumanyi nga naawe omumanyi so amanya nti ne bwe muba mukyogeddeko kuba oli amanya omuntu we n'amanya nti bwe tukyogerako ono omukazi agenda kikozesa nga ki nga kyakulwanyisa buli tufunyewo obutategeeragana kinkube mu maaso mulimu abakazi abatalina mmizi nga ajja kutandika bwe banyiiganyiriza emikwano gye ekisajja tekifunctioninga naye kati kumanya muntu wo ne muba nga buli mwasobola okutrustinga munne era ng'abateesa bwe bagambye ne mugendako bamugenzeko kaddina date ne mukyogerako mu mukwano omungi nga si mukyogerako nti ku blaminga oba kuwinjinga kunaaginga naye kukimanya nti omwami wange kuba era ebirwadde bingi ebireeta the impotence sometimes ziba side effects from amadagala abantu ge baliko kati nga tugeze diabetes ne diabetes addagala lya diabetes erimu era nalyo licausing impotence as side effect kati kumanya n'omanya nti omuntu wange tabadde bw'ati kuba oba obadde naye era ng'omumanyi n'otakitwala nti yayenze oba alina baalaba ebbali naye n'omanya nti kati tukikutte tutya era ne mukyogerako waliwo n'omukyala eyagambye okusaba ennyo nze nange ebintu byange mbikwasa nnyo Katonda bwe kikuyitirako n'okizukukira n'okiteeka mu tahajjud you always find a way
so tahajjud ereme kubeera yakusaba Mukama Katonda omusajja tebamutwala n'awasaayo omulala wabula kati egendemu n'okuba nti Allah capacity horsepower
atutegerereza embeera kuba ye yekka yasobola kuba eddagala osobola oddimira naye nga ye Allah yagamba nti ebyammwe ggwe noone mu nsonga ezo zijja kukoma wano naye ye yasobola era ogitereeza era n'abatemera ekkubo we mubadde temumanyi nti musobola okufunawo ekkubo.
Barakallahu fikum Sauda.
Tweyanziza nnyo sebo tweyanzike naye nga tusiima olumu nno nziruka ne guba nga gumpiseeko nti ogenda okukola otya.
Program, by the way, for those who missing the program, you can always catch up. You just go on YouTube, look for Ummah Connected program of Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or back to facebook.com or take up Nonya 75W Radio once when you go when you Come Let's Talk program no sort of catching up. Safina Boina Kazinda. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I just saw the way by the Ninyo.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Enyabo ebigambo tubiwulidde ebitubuulirwa ebitutegeka ngugenda going into our marriages abaffe ekituufu okuba nti tugenda okukwatako ku nsonga eziyinza okuvaako okwawukana ntuufu okwogera kwawo oba tusanyukira ebyambaga byokka wali tetukwatayo.
Omani, there are some things we need to understand like facts of life.
Yes.
Problems will always be part of life. We are different people. Omuntu gosanze, for instance, ofumbidde olwa myaka 2 gofumbirwa maybe ayina emyaka 3 oba 4. These people have been the way they've been for all the 4 years. Nawe bakuzanga obakuza olinga boli for the 20 or so years. So those are some things we tulina okusookerako to understand. We are 2 different people coming together to forge a relationship. That's one. So after understanding that, then we go to number 2. Are we willing to compromise? Waliwo abantu bonga bali uncompromising. It is either this or this. Tekikyukamu. Waliwo yawa analogy nti abantu abamu obwongo bwe bwakulanga luguudo lwa train. Because terina roundabout nti oba ogenda kukyukira wakati ode, it's just going straight. So if you're that kind of person, then life is going to be so hard. Because we are 2 different people. It means you're starting a new chapter to learn each other, which is the hardest. It's only Allah who knows what's in. Some people are very good at pretense. In fact, in the US, we are bipolar. So abantu bayina side A and side B. So can I try to understand whether you're meeting the side A or it's the side B? So all that put aside, my other question is, why are you getting married? Or why do you want to get married? Abantu bayina ensonga za njawulo. Waliwo eyayogedde ku pressures. Ofumbirwa ddi, owassa ddi, ofumbirwa ddi. So some people succumb to such pressures ne bafumbirwa oba ne bawasa naye nga bonga botasose kulowooza why am I getting married or why am I marrying. So now wasa for the sake of other people. So consequently, as life goes on, you encounter issues which you're not ready for. Neighbor obanga in your own heart or sazeo, I'm tired of being alone. I need companionship. I need company in my life. That means we're not sango muntu. Ogena kubera compromising. You meet each other since nagamba halfway because abantu abambalesa obuzibu nga baganya okuwenga nze nkola bwenti and you don't do this. Notamanya nze kyesikola, you need to bagamba batya. You need to compliment me. Where I'm failing, you do. And then when we add whatever we're doing together, it gives us 100%. Nego government is and you don't do this, then problems are going to arise. So truthfully, in the beginning, what issues are. In fact, even if you're just meeting in courtship, so those are things we work with. So no manya truthfully is kujja. Then what are the limits? Buli omu alina limits ze. Waliwo oli agamba nti nze omusajja kasitanga luliro wadde talunkubye is as good as kunkuba. Then waliwo omulala omusajja aganza omukazi n'amala nvuma, that's it. Sinza kutekinga disrespect to that level nti omukazi anvumye. So buli omu alina limits ze. So when you meet each other, olaba nti ono limits zange anazisobola oba n'amasobola their limits. No way get it. Manyi waliwo kye bagamba, do not bite off much more than you can chew.
Yes.
Waliwo omuntu gw'osanga nga muzibu oba okyaddeko gy'akola n'olaba engeri gy'ayisaamu abantu b'akola nabo. Omanyi that's a thin line. Bw'omulaba yeeyisa ku mulimu, don't think it's going to be too different from what will happen at home when crisis comes up. So bukuyigiriza some things. It takes me back to what you wafumbiddwa. Abantu abalina genuine reasons for getting married. Ajja kumanya when to back off and when to run, when to walk, when to talk. Otherwise, abantu abafumbira for public opinion, even when things become hot, you know what will people say? So at the end of the day, to deaths, into omusajja yasse omukyala or omukyala yasse whatever, or I'm plotting it abamutte bamuwadde because that hatred ekulaga nti omuntu aludde n'omuntu gw'atayagala naye ng'alinga gwe baamusibako, you know, taseetuka. Yet honestly speaking, if you talked about it nomanya nti bwe ntuuka ku this limit kuba kati, if I still give an example, viewers, okwemula is like part of life here. Naye gwe ng'omuntu ogamba, can I take it or not? So your partner oba wamugambira from the beginning, nze munaye siwemula naye n'akugamba nga bw'atewemula or something because ayagala okusika ojje, then ogenda okola oli kigambo ekivaamu f this, f the other, f this. So the question is, are you going to stay and take it? Are you going to talk about it? Or are you realizing now nti yali yakulimba? This is the way they are. Because abantu they normalized it. Everything F, S. So to some people, that's too much. To others, that's okay. That's normal. That's your business. Bakuba moru ye and it's okay. Then that's your business if you can take it. So sometimes the government, you know, did you talk about it? Or why you kept quiet and took it? So why are you bringing it up now? So, and then that's the biggest. In fact, pray before you get someone. And be specific to Allah. Who are you asking for? When you're just asking for a man, but if you're specific, are kind, are generous, are caring, are nurturing, inshallah, he can give you that. Just, you never know. And then sometimes you about dilemma, and then you don't know how to make a choice. Saba Allah kuwe assign what to do. Because many times we get it wrong, you to get instead of other things. Because consequently, no sang Nenga is kind of late. Even when issues come about, you don't know, in fact, if you're meeting someone, dini, I think, should be number one. Because when people dini, you know how to get back to Allah. This is shaitan working between us. tusaale ku sunna oba omwami n'akuzukusaako n'ekiro zukka tusabe, something's going wrong, like you want to bring Allah in whatever is happening, mukisabire mukisiibire, it will open channels. N'okumanya nti when you get married oyagala omuntu anaakuyamba to bring you closer to Allah. Ng'abakyala batugamba nti ejjana yaffe eri wansi w'abaami, kitegeeza nti omwami ono mugayi munnange tozanyira mu jjana yange, don't tempt me, let's don't cross these lines. So prayer is very important. I've said so much and I'm sorry.
Barakallahu fikum. It's very interesting. A lot of times people go in Cambodia and keep quiet, and yet they are sitting on a minefield, a gold mine of interesting aspects or conversations. Thank you very much, Safina, for that submission. Ali Wembo, you were a first timer here. I can see Rashida is back, Diana is up. I wanted to get someone who hasn't spoken, and that's Imam Mugasha and Ali Wembo. Please, Ali, if you can go ahead, please. Assalamu alaikum. You are a newbie to the conversation. Mkaka Sanawi, takeaway. We are looking at quickly just the takeaway. What are you taking away from tonight's conversation?
Assalamu alaikum
wa rahmatullahi wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, Sheikh.
We're a part of the conversation. Several tonight.
That day is very, very interesting and very educative when people are sharing experience. Kugamba zizo kubanga teziri directly to those who are talking. People who are talking, it's not that these things are happening to them, but they've seen or they've experienced them from friends, like conversation like one lady Gambi, men twogerera amongst each other. Unfortunately ekintu ekyo kirimu obuzibu nti bamen webajja ate baba oli ayinza n'okuba yeewaana bwewaanyi kumbe nga tekihappeninga na gyali ng'atandika obbakuba akatwa n'akuvugisa n'akugamba ebitaliyo n'ogenda gw'otomera obutomezi. So when we try to be honest to each other, and this conversation, group conversations, mufuna mwedda abasajja twafunangamuko ku Sunday n'ogenda omitingako basajja banno. Naye nowadays abantu babeera mu mayumba, omusajja n'olaba TV ng'abaana abato n'obeera naye tubayita mu communities, ane waliyo communities abasajja tumitingeko ku bisaawe tuddukemu gye twogerera ebigambo ebintu twewamu ideas okola booti. So it has been really very interesting. It's very hard even to switch off.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Actually, I think you raise a very, very important point. Men to find these particular groupings that we can go in, play football, or if you can no longer play football, find something of interest. Exercise is actually a very good place
to play badminton, tennis,
volleyball.
Go away from home, then go and meet either your fellow men. Then one of them who having a fun, for another experience. After Juma, don't just rush and go back home. You never know what can happen. You are rushing, going home, or going or rushing or correct. Or just sanga yera stress or sanga baby bulijjo.
Narongo agambye mu these days men balwanira TV n'abaana anti ozeeyo ka remote oketaga nfuki okugenda mu exercise.
So Barakallah, thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Much apprecited. Kangende Imam Kasozi Nchamwina, because he's been up all this long. Chances are, if he's still there, definitely I think would fish from his wisdom. Looks like he's popped out. Rashid, I'll bring you in. I think you were there first before Diana. And then we should be wrapping up so that we can allow people to go to bed. But it's been a very, very interesting conversation. Much appreciated. It's quite interesting, the sort of things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, day in, day out. And yet, these are the realities of life. Rashida, go ahead, please. Keep it short and sweet to wrapping up.
Indeed, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Yeah, in a nutshell, we will get there now. But let's take one crucial point. In all marriages, let's learn to agree about the disagreement. Gatuchisigamya mu mbeera nti ondabye bukulu. You will not change too much about me. Just learn to accept me, I'll accept you. Tuleke kwekaluubiriza omuntu gw'oliko omulabye bukulu. Ate bagamba kakyama amamera. You will not straighten it up as you want it. So tuyige okwegumiikiriza mu mbeera eyo. Learn to agree about the disagreement. And then if there is and disagree about to agree. Kale bibuzaabuza naye nga ekikulu kya byonna. You will not change someone to what you want. Let's move ahead by kugumiikiriza. I think this is our priority in marriage. Gumiikiriza, ondabye bukulu, nakulira waffe, wakulira wammwe, oyina ebibi ebikuliko, nina ebibi ebindiko. Oba oli awo oseeredde, nange nseerera, ffenna tuli batonde. Naye ng'ekyokutya Allah kye kikulembera mu byonna. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Barakallahu fikum. Diana, you almost look like you have the last word unless someone comes up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Mine is also a wrap up. Just to share with you, I am not a marriage counselor. Everything I've said is through experience, and I've shared things that have worked for me. About prayer. These are the things I pray for, and if it resonates with you, please, pray for peace every day of your life. Every day of your marriage, every day of your relationship, every day of gwekenyini, pray for peace. Saba ekise ekyo, tugamba the peace that passes all understanding. Ate saba Mukama, sabira baawo, sabira Mukama amuwe okumanya n'okutegeera. The spirit of wisdom and understanding. Kubanga nga bagamba nti ye mutwe gw'ensingo, asobole okubeera omukulembeze omulungi oyo aweesa Katonda ekitiibwa mu maka gammwe. N'ekirala, langirira ekigambo kya Katonda ku bulamu bwo ne bbaawo n'abaana bo n'abo abantu ababeetoolodde. Constantly, tossa mukono. N'ekirala, saba Mukama akuyigirize oba abayigirize how to resolve conflict mu maka gammwe, mu mukwano gwammwe, in peace, mu mirembe, and amicably. Abawe eddembe eryo mu maka nti embeera ne bw'ejja ng'enyigiriza etya nga musobola okugivuunuka, ejjengo bwe lijja nga musobola okulivuunuka kubanga musabye emirembe egyo mu maka gammwe. N'ekirala, osaba Mukama okuyamba to show you or to teach you how to extend grace to your husband or your partner and your children at large. Kubanga ffenna gye tuva, abasinga gye tuva gye twakulira, there was nothing called grace. Embeera yabanga nzibu. Abasinga, nzikunze. So, nyenze njigane nga, mbogodde, mpoganye. Oba omwana atasibye musipi mu mpale, nemulaba there's that anger that comes up upon you n'ogamba naye waba omwana ono ddala n'oyagala ogamba nti talina amagezi naye n'ogamba Mukama mpa ekisa, neweekuba tooki mu mutima n'ogamba Mukama njigiriza obukakamu, njigiriza okutambulira mu kwagala n'okuyigiriza abaana n'ogamba nti my children shall be taught of the Lord, ne bbaawo abeere taught of the Lord, naawe wennyini obeere taught of the Lord. Ekisembayo, please ladies, tuyiga okwe-exercise. Let's exercise. Nze wembeera ne issue nempulira nga tension etandise okujja mu bibegabega nga nfuluma nina kilo 8 naye nziruka oba ntambula oba nziruka simanyi, naye bwengenda okudda nga adrenaline kalinnye waggulu, mbeera nina energy asobola okwogera ku nsonga for some reason, even if it's a walk, like ne oxygen eyo eyina engeri gyekyusa embeera mu nze nesobola okugivinga better to those around me. Ebyo ebigambo byange.
Fantastic, and what good words to end tonight's conversation. Thank you very much, Diana. I've been one of the highlights in tonight's conversation. You've all been fantastic. Actually, this is one of the best debate conversations we've had. I started a little bit cautious, not knowing where it would go, but alhamdulillah, it is all well. I'm sure there are lessons to take. For the men, takeaway is have the confidence to have the conversations, let's talk to our spouses. Let's open up the doors of conversation in case there's something that is not working. Let's even talk about the things that are working as well. It doesn't only have to be over the things that are not working. I think we need to be able to communicate both positive and negatives. The negatives become easier to remedy the moment you have open channels where you can have conversations going on. But importantly, men, let's try. Let's do a bit of exercise. Whether you like it or not, there will come a time in your life where your performance will definitely go low. And it is how you manage to handle that. I think psychologically we need that preparation, because it looks like some men think they would stay that way till death doth us part. But it doesn't work that way. For our parents and forefathers, some actually did manage. They would get to their 70s, 80s, but they were living on a different diet with a different kind of lifestyle, as opposed to the kind of lifestyle that we lead. But it's not too late. We can find our ways to be able to work around each other. I think another very important point that was raised is finding alternative ways in case issues like impotence, the temporary impotence come in place, finding alternative pleasurable ways to make sure that we enhance our relationships with our spouses, but also understanding, very, very critical. Chibade knew that mostly it is men who undergo this, but there are situations where we've had women, the hormonal issues, going especially, I don't know, of late, I've just dug so deep. I've been listening to lots of conversations around menopause, the sort of the build up, the perimenopause, and then into menopause and post-menopause. And the kind of dilemmas, the hot flashes, the men need to understand these signs and symptoms so that when they set in, you know how to act around your partner. The moods will change. There will be these pains. There will be these anger issues. There are all these issues that an understanding would help so much to determine and give you the tools, the weapons that you need to be able to deal with them in an appropriate way. Confidentiality between spouses, absolutely important. There are people that are busy being able to keep someone's secret. I think it would be a serious betrayal of trust if you're going to break someone's weakness or imperfection. And I think it's been put very well here in the chat room here. Someone did put the message there. Actually, it was about let's close our eyes. I think it was Rashido says we have to close our eyes and ears about each other's imperfections. It just means they are part of life and we will have to live with them. I thank you very much. It's 27 minutes past 10 o'clock. Another smashing program that you have pulled off. I can only thank you so much for making the time. Hope to see you next week, inshallah, Tuesday, same time, 8 p.m. where I'll be coming back with another very interesting program. The program has been Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We were live on 75W Radio, live on Ummah Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Remember, if you miss anything, you can still catch up. It's not too late. Probably joined late in the conversation. Just go online, go to YouTube. You can type in straight away, Come, Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or look for Ummah Connected, and then you'll be able to catch up. Or just look for facebook.com/75W Radio. You'll be able to find Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira and other programs that we run on these two platforms. Hope to see you next week, 8 p.m. as usual, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a good night.